Okay everyone, here's a new video from Stephen in regards to his book reviews, and I'm going to introduce myself and then we're going to lead on to Stephen. So my name's Matthew Mackenzie. I have my own video channel, but this is not basically about what I do. This is what Stephen does. So Stephen, can you introduce yourself to the audience? Just 10 seconds will do.
Hi, I'm Stephen Vizinczey. I am the author of In Praise of Older Women, An Innocent Millionaire, Truth and Lies in Literature, and If Only.
Brilliant. And Claire, do you want to?
My name's Claire Parker. I'm a long-time friend of Stephen, and it's thanks to Stephen that I discovered Russian literature. Gogol, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy.
Wow, and that's you know, those types of books are very large, so obviously you do a lot of reading. I couldn't handle that myself. But we're going to, now that you've mentioned Russian literature, we're actually going to move on to a very famous Russian book. So I'm going to ask Stephen first, why have you decided to talk about Nikolai's book Dead Souls today? And just if you could just sum it up in about a couple of minutes.
You know, a great writer is like a great scientist. To Newton we owe the knowledge of the law of gravity. To Gogol we owe the depth of human ineptitude. The stupidity, incompetence of human beings is nobody dealt with it more deeply than Gogol. I might say that she's slapstick. She's a genius who made slapstick a great art. I think I'm still very sorry that that the Carry-On trim didn't make his play the government inspector. That would have been a great movie and much better than you get in the theater. He's actually unique in literature in his immediacy, that you really see what he describes. This guy, he was impotent, and this impotence gave him the power to show and understand human beings without the softening hue of pleasure and love. And so any great achievement like Gogol doesn't come cheaply. So he had to have a terrible life really in order to get something new out of life and some new understanding. And Gogol gives it to you. We talking about Dead Souls, which is his greatest book, but even more important, and for a first thing, I would recommend you read The Diary of the Madman. And in fact, I don't understand. It requires one great actors with all the garbage in television. Why don't I have a great actor acting out The Diary of a Madman? I saw it I forgot the name, but a wonderful American actor, and him playing the character who goes back, the Diary of the Madman, was one of my most profound theater experiences. I also uh, like everybody, I can be stupid and get great comfort from objects. I don't. I happen to be writing An Innocent Millionaire in Florence, at the same desk which Gogol wrote The Dead Souls. Wonderful 18th century furniture, and I really think I owe some of the success of An Innocent Millionaire to the fact that I could write at his table, at the table he wrote, in the pension in the Via Roma, near the Boboli Gardens. And I have two great desk experiences. I worked on the table, the lovely table, solid furniture, which Gogol wrote, The Dead Souls, and I touched Balzac's desk on which he wrote The Lost Illusions. And it's silly, but that's being a human being. I got a great deal of strength out of touching these objects. The reason I really would like you to read first The Diary of a Madman, and I recommend it, any director, any television director does it. It's very cheap, it needs one actor, one great actor, and it with the most memorable time to the audience. I just do not understand, well, human stupidity, which is so profoundly exposed and explored by Gogol, is demonstrated in our time when we have absolutely great works of art which could inspire you and awaken you to the important truths about life. And instead of that, they spend millions on giving you explosions. So I really think if you read The Diary of a Madman, you will become a different person. You will understand something about human nature and also the tragedy of mental illness, which no other way can you learn. And as that's the genius, that he can tell you the most depressing truths and keeps you laughing. That's tell you bad news and there's some depressing thoughts and depressing truths, and at the same time help you to bear it by presenting it to you in a way that you laugh, is a very great achievement. And I think if you read here, you will understand your own world better. That's another thing about all great writers, and Gogol is certainly very relevant here, that they all wrote about today. When you read Gogol, the setting may be 19th century Russia, but you feel it's about England today, because all the character and all the problems you see today are described by Gogol, because these guys went for the things which are always true. If you stick to nature and honestly portray the world and reflect the world as it is, then you never be out of fashion, because the truth is eternal and unchanging. And the story of the Lost Souls is about a Chichikov, a guy who has the absurd idea of buying dead souls, serfs who are dead, but they still on the government register. So again, it is absurd yet make perfect sense. He buys these dead souls, and for a very good rational reason, since they are still in the government register as being alive, he can present it to the state bank and get a big loan. And there are incredible characters. The idea, incidentally, the Shakespeare of Russian literature was Pushkin, and Pushkin gave Gogol the idea, and when he read the novel, which is one of the funniest books ever written, Pushkin said, "Oh God, how sad Russia is." I'm very sorry that the Carry On team never had a chance to do The Government Inspector, which is the greatest book about corruption. Again, it is slapstick, but when the Tsar saw it, he said, "I am the real guilty person of this play. I am the real villain." It is about really rotten boroughs, you see it in Private Eye, rotten boroughs. And it is that kind of thing in the totally corrupt town.
I want to bring Claire into the discussion here, and I want to get your view on, before we go into a bit about Dead Souls, which Stephen has described a fair bit, which is great. I want to get your view about Nikolai Gogol. Why does he stand out as a great sort of figure in Russian literature? And he was also, I believe, a playwright and also, short storyteller. So
Okay.
I'd like to hear your views on this.
I'll start by picking up on one word which Stephen used, and that was immediacy. Because when you read Gogol, you're there, you're with his characters, you're in the situation, and that's a wonderful trait he has in his writing. What else can I say? Stephen said just about everything. His characters are great,
Yeah.
so that goes without saying. But what he has that Tolstoy does not have is a fantastic sense of humour. It's a serious subject, incredibly serious, but every so often there's a flash of humour. Thinking of one particular one, Manilov, the first one.
Can you actually hold up the cover? Don't lose your excerpt, but hold up the cover of the book,
Okay.
so people can sort of see what it...
Right, the first person to buy,
Yeah,
to sell the Dead Souls is Manilov.
yeah.
So he sells them. Chichikov goes off. So Manilov is in bed with his wife, and he's discussing Chichikov and saying what a wonderful man he is.
Yeah.
And his wife's response, she kicks him, and that's the end of the
Oh
chapter.
dear.
But the novel is full of little touches like that when you least expect them. So, let me see. Funnily enough, okay, you could think of Chichikov as a con man. He is a con man. But in spite of that, I, as a reader, wanted him to succeed. I wanted him to get out of jail. It's an amazing thing because he's successful. He goes all over Russia buying up these dead souls, and he's getting what he wants. And his dream is to become a gentleman, owning land and serfs, and a good little wife and little Chichikovs. And that comes up several times. That's his aim. Doesn't want to be a rogue. And he does actually point out in one of his conversations, he never hurts anybody. Nobody comes off badly from his underhand schemes. They are underhand, but hurling. But you want him to succeed. So he is a likeable villain, if you like. What else here about his characters? Manilov, the first one, he's a very affable character. Nazirov is a very interesting character.
Yeah.
He talks and talks and talks, and 99% of what he says is based on lies, which he believes thoroughly. But he is very effusive, and he wants to sell horses, carriages, food to Chichikov, who just says no thank you. So I think Gogol is a very singular writer. You can read Dostoevsky or Tolstoy in their own way, they're great writers, but Gogol has that extra something. And I'd go back to the word immediacy. You're right there with him. You're with his characters, and you get totally immersed. And the other thing Stephen points out is society. The picture that he writes, he creates of Russian society in the 19th century, is almost a replica of what is happening in our own society, and that's based on avarice and materialism, because the materialism in this world of ours has become absolutely rife. Maybe thanks to the internet, I don't know. But that's also an element in Dead Souls. The avarice of people, they want things. They think they'll have a better life if they have X, Y, Z, which of course is nonsense. So there we are.
One of the great characters is an old woman who is very worried that he sold her dead souls cheaply.
That's
Is
right.
that Natasha?
She thinks she's missing out on an opportunity.
To make more money.
That's
Oh,
right.
And he's destroyed. He's the one who at the end destroys him.
But it's funny because for half the novel, Chichikov is admired by people. He goes to balls, he goes to dinners. Everybody likes him. He's very presentable. He talks, and he puts himself forward as a man whom everybody wants to know. And then at the end of the novel, when the old woman stirs the hornet's nest, and society turns against him.
Yes.
Everybody has a bad word to say about him. It just shows you how fickle people can be.
Yes.
You know, like the mob.
Oh, fickle and
Mob
stupid, and
mentality.
they are blowing in the winds, and they don't really think for themselves.
There are not very many, if any, likeable female characters in this book. I don't think he got on very well with women.
No.
He'll start a sentence to describe some woman, then he'll just stop. He'll stop mid-sentence because he can't finish it.
Correct.
Oh, that's interesting.
The fact that he was impotent, it gives really a unique view of life, in the sense that how the world looks to people who cannot have pleasure, sexual pleasure, and that's very important. And the ending of the book is very interesting, because the government official who is in charge of everything, Russia didn't have, it says something like, he had individuals who had the power to ferret out corruption and punish it, not committees. And this man comes and tells them that he lets all the dignitaries together and tell them you have all so much crime, fraud and theft of public property in you that I could jail you all. But and that's one of the most moving ends of a book. But then he said, but but it's no use to fire you and punish you, because new people will come and those who are honest become dishonest. Oh, that's a thought before an election. And
So if you may, I'd like you to actually read from my favourite part of the book. So just it gives viewers like a flavour of what the book's, what's in store for them if they decide to go out and purchase the book. If you just a couple of minutes.
well, this is the idea which I can tell you. I'm hoping I'm quoting it more or less verbatim, that he tells them that I can all put you in jail.
Yeah.
But I know that if new people will come, take your place, and those who are no honest will become dishonest and be ended in the same situation. Therefore I kneel before you and beg you, if you still have any sense of a noble thought in your body, to change, and for the sake of Russia.
Yeah.
And he left that great last sentence unfinished. He didn't know how to finish it. And he really had, you see, the Clay talked about the immediacy. He really had, I mean, you cannot be just a normal human being to write great works. So he really had the idea that he could change Russia with his novel. And as he says in the last sentence, which he cannot finish, that's hopeless. And then he dies, because he realized that he cannot change literature, the world. But you could say that his that Souls is an attempt and a manifestation of the desire of changing the world for the better, and the failure of doing so. You see both the heroism, the pain of sadness, and the impossibility of it. So this is why, if you read the book, you would really look at the world in a different way. He will teach us you the greatest human problem, one of the greatest human faults which comes through the book, is credulity. Basically, you can tell anything to people and they believe it. At one point, all the people who are speculating about Chichikov decide that, oh, he is Napoleon.
Oh, yes. He's escaped from St. Helena.
Yes.
That's who he is. Problem solved.
And then they realize that the person who tells them that has only one leg, and Napoleon had both his legs.
Yes, both arms. Yeah.
So do you want to...
Well, this is what I
mean, it doesn't have to be the last page. It could. I mean, is that the one that sticks out to you, the last page, or?
I just want to bring up two characters that we haven't mentioned yet. Are Chichikov's two serfs. Petrushka, the servant, and what's the other one called? Sunny Love.
Yes.
Yes, they're great characters. They're funny.
Mm.
They've been,
They are great characters.
yeah, but they are particularly funny. And
It's a very rare talent that he can he can with a very few words get the most important thing about the character.
Mhm.
That's very rare.
Yeah.
In a way, all great writers have that gift. They tell you about a character what is most important. It's very difficult to do. And
if people read Dead Souls today,
Mm.
they would understand better what's wrong with their own society.
Yeah, that's quite
Yeah.
important, you know.
again, this is true of all really true great writers.
Mm.
But in a way it is truer of Gogol because he tells you bad news laughing.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the most depressing things in a human's life, sometimes a little bit of comedy can get that message across, which is
Yeah.
you're looking for in those books.
Yeah.
But the message needs to be told in order to understand not only just the human condition, but how we all relate to each other.
Well, I really think that it is a great tragedy that of artistic thing we missed, that the carry-on team didn't do the government inspector.
Mm. So you need to tell the
I
carry-on
saw
team
a
off, really.
production in
The
National, which treated as a holy script and was incredibly boring. The carry-on team was the team we could have made a great, immortal work out of Gogol's play.
One character we haven't mentioned at all is Russia itself. His descriptions of rural Russia in particular
Yeah.
are beautiful. They are absolutely beautiful, and they capture the spirit of the land.
And it's
Yeah.
very interesting that he got that spirit and because he wrote it also out of homesickness. He wrote most of the book and gave this vivid description of Russia in Italy, in Firenze, in Florence and Rome.
That's amazing.
And so it has again the immediacy and the extra passion of somebody is longing for his homeland,
Yes.
and he gets it from abroad.
So, due to time, do you want to read an excerpt, or shall we skip that, or...
Yeah. The point is that the time has come for us to save our country. Our country is already perishing, not from incursion of foreign tribes, but from ourselves. Apart from the lawful government, another way of governing has already came into being, and infinitely more powerful than the lawful one. Its conditions have been established, everything has been assigned, price and even the prices have been made a matter of common knowledge. And no ruler, though he be wiser than all other lawgivers and rulers, is strong enough to right this wrong, however much he may try to curtail the activities of bad officials by appointing officials to oversee them. Everything will fail. Each of us begins to feel that just as the time when the people rose and took up arms against their enemies, so likewise you must rise up against wrongdoing. As a Russian, as one bound to you by kinship, by consanguinity, I am not turning to you. I am turning to those of you who have some understanding of what constitutes nobleness of thought. That's a great idea.
It's well read as well.
It is he appeals to those who have an idea what is the nobleness of thought. And invite you to remember the duty that awaits every person and the obligations of your official position on this earth, because all of us though have a dim conception of it, and we hardly. And there the book ends in mid-sentence.
Thank you for reading that. Just a last few words, like a minute left.
I hope my accent is terrible.
No.
But it gets the message across really, and I want to start with Claire. Why should people read this book? You can just sum up in a sentence, but why should people of today read the book Dead Souls?
I'll say what I said a minute ago, because by reading Dead Souls, one has a much better, clearer understanding of our own society.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Stephen, why should anyone of today, 2019?
You understand England. You understand the United Kingdom a lot better than from editorials and from television news.
And you understand
You read that, you everything.
Humanity.
You everything.
It's like Shakespeare.
Better.
I would say he's a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That's
because
brilliant.
he understands human beings.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to review Nikolai's book Dead Souls and having your own thoughts. I'm sure that the viewers will certainly appreciate your time, and perhaps you can, if you're watching the video, please add a comment. We certainly would like to respond to those, and we hope you can in future. We'll do more reviews from famous authors.
Yes.
From both Stephen and Claire. You've read a lot more than I could even have dreamed of, and I'm sure many of the viewers would appreciate your knowledge. Thank you again for watching the video, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wish I was as relaxed as you are, Matthew.